What would you do if you witnessed a monster in human skin preying on those who cannot defend themselves? Would you walk away? Or would you become the lightning that strikes without warning? Hong Kong, summer of 1971, the dojo sits nestled between towering apartment blocks like a secret garden of discipline and power, its wooden floors polished by countless bare feet, its walls adorned with ancient scrolls of wisdom. Bruce Lee moves through his morning routine, a solitary dance of precision and focus, each movement a poem written in muscle and bone, each breath controlled like the tide of an ocean. Not today a movie star, not today a famous teacher, today just a man seeking peace in movement, his body the instrument of a philosophy deeper than words. Sweat glistens on his forehead as the morning sun streaks through paper windows, casting tiger-striped shadows across the wooden floor. The world outside fades away. In these moments, the international school nearby has allowed him to use their facilities for his afternoon classes, a compromise after his controversial decision to teach kung fu to anyone willing to learn regardless of race or background, a decision that earned him enemies among traditionalists who believe some knowledge should remain exclusive, some doors forever closed to outsiders. He pauses mid-form, tilts his head toward the open window. The schoolyard sounds float in on the humid air, children's laughter, teachers' instructions, the familiar rhythm of education. The soundtrack of future possibilities, but something discordant catches his ear, a harsh voice rising above the others, mocking words that slice through the air like knives, tearing at something vulnerable. Bruce moves to the window, eyes narrowing against the bright sun, watching as the scene unfolds in the adjacent schoolyard, his instincts already alert to imbalance. A girl, perhaps 15, long dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, one leg noticeably thinner than the other, a metal brace glinting in the sunlight. Ming Yu Chun, according to the teachers, a gifted musician who transferred last month, rumors of her talent preceding her like shadows. She clutches a violin case to her chest like armor against the world, her eyes fixed on the ground as if trying to disappear into it, her shoulders curved inward, a lifetime of deflecting attention circling her like sharks, scenting blood. Three boys in expensive uniforms, led by Victor Zhao, son of a powerful businessman, golden boy of the athletics department. His father's donations ensure the school overlooks his cruelty. His handsome face, a mask for something ugly beneath. Victor's voice carries vicious and cutting. Why do they even let cripples in here? His followers laugh. On cue, trained in cruelty, like dogs to a whistle. Does your leg make noise when you play? Another round of laughter, sharp as broken glass. A teacher passes by, sees what's happening, and deliberately looks away. Priorities clear as glass, preservation of funding trumping protection of students, the math of moral compromise calculated in an instant. Bruce, hands clench into fists, his breathing shifts, not anger, not rage, just focus, the stillness before action, the center point of the storm. He turns away from the window. This is not his business. He has a class to prepare for, a movie to finish shooting next week, responsibilities that demand his attention, lives that depend on his focus. But the sound of something falling, a clatter and crash, draws him back, the sound of something precious in peril. The violin case lies open on the ground, its precious contents exposed to the dirt. The girl kneeling beside it, tears streaming silently down her face as Victor stands over her, foot hovering above the instrument. Worth more than money could measure, a family heirloom, according to school gossip passed down through generations. Something ancient stirs in Bruce's blood, a code older than schools, older than countries, older than politics. The warrior's obligation to protect. He reaches for his jacket, slips into his shoes, moves with the liquid grace of inevitability, decision already made in some deeper part of himself. By the time he reaches the yard, Victor has placed his foot on the violin's neck, the wood groaning under the pressure. The girl, frozen in helpless horror, unable to stop what's coming, her world narrowed to this moment of destruction. Is this the behavior of a man? Bruce's voice cuts through the schoolyard. Sudden silence falls like a curtain, all eyes turn to the unexpected presence. Victor looks up, recognition dawns on his face, the famous Bruce Lee, his father's favorite actor, standing before him, eyes like flint, voice like steel, an unexpected variable in his equation of power. Just having some fun, Mr. Lee. Victor's smile doesn't reach his eyes, confidence born of knowing his father's influence, shielding him from consequences. Nothing for you to worry about. The arrogance of assumed immunity. Bruce approaches, each step measured, controlled. remove your foot. 3 words simple as breathing heavy as stone. Victor hesitates for the first time, uncertain, caught between pride and wisdom. Pride wins, as it often does with young men who've never faced real consequences. Why should I care about some crippled girls? Bruce moves not with anger, not with hatred, with precision, with purpose. One hand grasps Victor's wrist, gentle as a father's touch, firm as mountain stone. The other hand lifts the violin from beneath the boy's foot before anyone can register. What happened? A demonstration of control more powerful than any display of force. This is not the path of strength. Bruce's voice carries to the gathering crowd, students and teachers drawn to the confrontation like moths to flame. True power protects those who cannot protect themselves. A lesson offered freely to anyone willing to learn. Victor yanks his arm away, face flushing with humiliation. Do you know who my father is? The familiar refrain of the privileged when confronted with their own actions. Bruce kneels, hands the violin back to Mingyu, his movements gentle, respectful. Are you hurt? She shakes her head, eyes wide with wonder, meeting his gaze directly for the first time. A small moment of courage born from witnessing someone else's. This isn't over. Victor's voice cracks with rage as he backs away, his followers uncertain now, the balance of power shifting like sand under waves. Bruce rises, turns to face the boy, his stance casual, deceptively relaxed. It can be. His voice soft, offering mercy before justice. The school principal appears, finally, summoned by the commotion. Mr. Lee, what brings you to our campus today? His voice carefully neutralized, darting between Bruce and Victor, calculating political equations. The crowd holds its breath, waiting to see which way power will bend, whether money will triumph over right, as it so often does. Mingyu clutches her violin, the future hanging in the balance of this moment, this choice, this stand against cruelty. I came to discuss using the gymnasium for my afternoon classes. Bruce's voice calm, reasonable. I found this student being harassed. No accusation in his tone, just facts laid bare. The principal's face tightens, caught in the trap of his own negligence. Victor is one of our star athletes. Not a denial, a justification. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Bruce looks at Mingyu, then back to the principal. No misunderstanding. His eyes conveying what his words do not, that he sees the corruption beneath the surface, the rot in the foundation. Victor smirks, certain of his protection. My father will hear about this interference, a threat wrapped in privilege delivered with practiced confidence. The crowd of students watches, absorbing the lesson unfolding, more valuable than anything taught in classrooms, about power, about courage, about choices. The principal clears his throat. Victor, perhaps you should head to practice. A dismissal, not a punishment, the path of least resistance. Victor nods, throws one last venomous glance at Mingyu, at Bruce, before sauntering away, his followers trailing behind like shadows at sunset. The crowd disperses, the spectacle concluded for now. The principal turns to Bruce, voice lowered. Mr. Lee, we value your presence here. Translation, we need your money, but please understand our delicate position. Translation, Victor's father owns us. Bruce meets his gaze, unflinching. I understand perfectly. The weight of unspoken judgment heavy in the air between them. The principal nods, relieved to escape. Without further confrontation, hurries back to his office, to the safety of bureaucracy and paperwork. Mingyu still stands there, clutching her violin, looking at Bruce with eyes that have seen too much cruelty, too little protection. Thank you. Her voice barely audible, like someone unused to being heard. Bruce gestures to a nearby bench. May I? A request for permission, not an assumption. She nods. They sit, the violin case open between them, the instrument miraculously unharmed, a small victory amid defeat. How long have you played? Bruce asks, eyes on the violin, giving her space to breathe. Since I was 4, her voice gaining strength when speaking of her passion. My grandmother taught me. Her fingers trace the wood lovingly, reverently. She must be very proud. Bruce watches her hands, the calluses on her fingertips, badges of dedication. Mingyu's eyes cloud. She died last year. The words falling like stones. This was hers, her hand resting on the violin, and her mother's before her. Bruce nods, understanding the weight of legacy, of objects that carry more than their physical form. That's why you transferred here. Connecting pieces of her story, she nods. The music program is famous. A bitter smile touches her lips. No one mentioned the rest. Bruce watches the schoolyard, where life has returned to normal, as if nothing happened. The remarkable ability of institutions to absorb and forget disruption. Does this happen often? He already knows the answer, can read it in her posture and her eyes. Not always the violin. She shrugs, a gesture too old for her years. Usually just words, as if that makes it better, as if words don't leave scars deeper than physical wounds. Bruce watches a janitor sweeping the far end of the yard. An older man who pauses meets Bruce's eyes, a moment of silent communication before returning to his work. What about the teachers? Bruce asks, though he witnessed the answer himself. Ming Yu shakes her head. They say I need to be stronger, her voice flat, resigned, that the world isn't fair. Her hands close the violin case, latch it securely. That I should focus on my music, as if art exists separate from life, as if beauty can flourish in poisoned soil. Bruce feels something stirring inside, not just anger at injustice, but recognition of battles fought long ago, of doors closed because of who he was, not what he could do. Would you play something? The request, spontaneous, born from intuition. Surprise flickers across her face here. Looking around the empty yard now. Bruce nods. If you're willing. She hesitates, then opens the case again, lifts the violin with practiced hands, positions it under her chin, a transformation coming over her from hunted to hunter, from victim to creator. The first notes rise into the air, tentative, like testing water, then gaining confidence. A Chinese folk melody, ancient as the mountains, flowing like rivers to the sea. Bruce closes his eyes, letting the music wash over him, recognizing the discipline behind the art, the countless hours of practice, the determination, the focus. Students passing by, pause drawn by the unexpected concert. The janitor stops sweeping, leans on his broom, listening. Mingyu plays, eyes closed, lost in the music, her body swaying slightly, the leg brace, no hindrance to this form of movement, this dance of fingers and bow. When the last note fades, there is a moment of perfect silence before scattered applause breaks out from the small gathering of onlookers. Mingyu opens her eyes, surprised to find an audience, color rising in her cheeks, not from shame but from something else, something like pride. Bruce applauds with the others. That was beautiful. Simple words for a complex truth. The bell rings, signaling the end of lunch period. Students reluctantly disperse, heading to afternoon classes. Mingyu carefully returns the violin to its case. I have music theory now, a hint of dread in her voice. Victor is in that class. Bruce nods, understanding. I'll walk with you. Not asking, offering. As they cross the yard, Bruce notices the janitor watching them, a slight nod passing between men, an acknowledgement of something unspoken but understood. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. The music theory classroom, a sanctuary turned battlefield. Rows of desks facing a grand piano, posters of composers on the walls, their stern faces witnessing modern cruelties. Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. What would they make of this? Mingyu enters. Bruce beside her, conversations stop mid-sentence, all eyes turning to the unexpected pair, the famous martial artist, the disabled girl, an alliance no one predicted. The teacher, Mrs. Zhang, a severe woman with glasses, hair pulled tight in a bun, looks up from her desk, surprise quickly masked by professionalism. Mr. Li, what an unexpected honor. Bruce bows slightly. I hope you don't mind my observation. His voice pleasant, revealing nothing of his purpose. I find music theory fascinating, a transparent excuse, yet who would refuse? Bruce Lee? Not Mrs. Zhang, who gestures to an empty chair at the back of the room. Please, be our guest. Victor enters, freezes at the door, seeing Bruce, his face cycling through emotions, surprise, anger, calculation. He slides into his seat, 3 rows behind Mingyu, close enough to torment, far enough to appear innocent. His 2 friends flanking him like ceremonial guards. Bruce settles in the back, a silent sentinel, watching, waiting, learning the dynamics of this battlefield. Mrs. Zhang begins her lesson, the mathematics of music, the structure behind beauty, her voice dry as autumn leaves, passion for her subject buried beneath years of institutional conformity. Mingyu takes notes diligently, her posture perfect, a musician's discipline, even here, even now. But Bruce sees the small aggressions, paper balls hitting her back, whispers just loud enough to hear. Cripple, charity case, teacher's pet. Mrs. Zhang notices too, her eyes flicking to the disturbances, then away, the path of least resistance, a pattern repeated so often it's become invisible to her. After class, Bruce approaches Mrs. Zhang while students file out. Your lesson was illuminating. She nods, pleased by the compliment. Music is the perfect marriage of mathematics and emotion, something genuine in her voice now. Few understand that. Mingyu seems to understand. Bruce mentions casually, watching her reaction, the teacher's face softens. She's extraordinarily talented, then hardens again. But talent isn't everything in this world. A lesson learned through bitter experience, perhaps. And what about character? Bruce asks, eyes steady on hers. Doesn't that matter too? Mrs. Zhang looks away first. I teach music theory. Mr. Lee, her voice defensive, not ethics. Bruce nods, understanding completely the compartmentalization, the abdication, the surrender. Of course, he bows slightly, leaves her with her justifications, her small compromises that allow larger evils to flourish. In the hallway, Mingyu waits, her schedule clutched in hand. I have P next. No emotion in her voice, just stating facts. Bruce understands immediately. Physical education, where disabilities become most visible, where cruelty finds its easiest targets. I'll accompany you. Again, not asking. The gymnasium smells of floor wax, and sweat echoes with shouts and bouncing balls, a temple of physical prowess, where worth is measured in speed and strength. The PE teacher, Mr. Wang, a former military man built like a tank, clipboard and hand whistle around his neck, the universal uniform of athletic authority. His eyebrows rise at Bruce's approach, recognition and wariness. Mr. Lee, this is unexpected. Bruce extends a hand. I'm observing classes today, the lie coming easily now for a greater truth. Mr. Wang's handshake firm, competitive. Any particular reason? Bruce glances at Mingyu, who has slipped away to the bleachers where she sits alone, neither with the girls changing for class, nor with the few students with medical exemptions, a category all her own. Professional curiosity. Bruce offers, vague enough to be believed. The class begins. Standard exercises, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, the building blocks of fitness. Mingyu watches from the sidelines, exempt, but not excused, required to witness what she cannot fully join, a special kind of torture. Victor excels, of course, his athletic ability genuine, making his character flaws more tragic. Talent, without compassion, skill, without honor. During a water break, Victor approaches Mingyu as if drawn by some predatory instinct to the most vulnerable present. Bruce watches close enough to intervene, far enough to observe, enjoying the view. Gimpy? Victor's voice carrying just enough for nearby students to hear, not loud enough for teachers. Mingyu looks down, the habitual response of pray, minimize, don't engage, survive. Maybe you should play your violin for us. Victor mimes a jerky, spastic movement. Show us your special talents. His friends laugh on cue, the practiced response of followers. Mingyu remains silent, her face a mask. Years of practice at hiding pain, at showing nothing, giving them no satisfaction. Bruce moves closer, not intervening, yet watching for something specific in her eyes, in her posture, the spark that would indicate she hasn't surrendered completely to their cruelty. There a slight stiffening of her spine, a flash in her eyes, quickly suppressed, but present, the ember of resistance still glowing beneath the ashes. Mr. Wang blows his whistle, ending the break, saving her from further torment. For now, after class, Bruce follows Mingyu to her final lesson of the day, orchestra practice, her refuge, her domain, the music room, larger than the theory classroom. Chairs arranged in a semicircle, stands placed precisely, the ritual preparation for collective creation. The orchestra director, Mr. Chen, no relation to Mingyu, a small, energetic man with wild hair and wilder gestures, eyes lighting up at Bruce's entrance, the famous Bruce Lee. No pretense, just genuine excitement. What brings you to our humble domain? Before Bruce can answer, Mr. Chen continues, wait. Don't tell me. You're researching for a film? His hands conducting an invisible orchestra, a musical martial arts extravaganza? Bruce smiles, the man's enthusiasm infectious. Nothing so ambitious. He gestures to Mingyu, who takes her place among the violinists' second chair, a position of respect. Mr. Chen follows his gaze, understanding dawning. Ah, you've discovered our prodigy. No whisper of her disability, only recognition of her gift. She'll be first chair soon, confiding this like a precious secret, just needs a little more confidence. The janitor appears at the door, the same man from the yard, pushing his cart of cleaning supplies, eyes meeting Bruce's briefly before beginning to sweep, invisible, yet seeing everything. Orchestra practice begins. Mr. Chen, a whirlwind of passion, coaxing, demanding, praising, scolding, treating every student as both special and equal, the true art of teaching. Mingyu transforms again as she did in the yard, from hunted to creator, from victim to artist, her bow moving across strings, creating beauty from nothing, power from vulnerability. Victor watches from percussion assigned to triangle, the simplest instrument. His athletic prowess useless here in this realm, where different talents reign. His eyes never leave Mingyu, hatred simmering, planning something, the look of a predator temporarily thwarted, but not deterred. The janitor sweeps, watching silent, present. Bruce observes it all, the dynamics of power, the currents of resentment, the islands of beauty in this ocean of teenage complexity, and makes a decision. Evening falls over Hong Kong. The school empties, corridors silent after the day's chaos. Only the occasional teacher remains, grading papers, preparing lessons, the invisible work that sustains education. Bruce waits outside the music room, leaning against the wall, patient as stone, as Mingyu finishes private practice, the last notes floating through the half-open door like birds seeking freedom. When she emerges, violin case clutched tight, she seems surprised to see him. "You stayed." Not a question, a realization. Bruce nods. "I thought you might want company on your way home." A simple offer with deeper meaning. They walk together through empty hallways, past trophy cases celebrating athletes, Victor's name prominent among them, past art displays, Mingyu's work nowhere to be seen. The school's priorities carved in glass and wood. Outside, the late afternoon air hangs heavy, humid with approaching rain, the promise of cleansing, of renewal. "Where do you live?" Bruce asks, falling into step beside her, matching his pace to her uneven gait. "Kowloon." She gestures vaguely eastward. "Near the night market." Bruce nods. Knowing the area well, working-class family, small apartments, the heartbeat of real Hong Kong, away from tourist areas, away from wealth and pretension. They walk in comfortable silence, the city flowing around them, street vendors calling their wares, cars honking in eternal impatience, the symphony of urban life. "Why are you doing this?" Mingyu finally asks the question that's been hanging between them. Bruce considers his answer carefully, not wanting to offer platitudes or easy comfort. "I recognize injustice when I see it, simple words for complex feelings, and I believe in balance." Mingyu digests this, her face thoughtful beyond her years. "But you're Bruce Lee." As if his fame should exempt him from caring about ordinary struggles. "You have movies and schools and students." Bruce smiles slightly. "And you have music." He gestures to her violin case. "We all have something that defines us." A pause. "And something that tests us." They turn down a narrower street, buildings pressing close on either side, laundry hanging from balconies, creating colorful flags in the still air. "Does it get better?" Her voice, small, now vulnerable, the question of every child facing cruelty. Bruce doesn't offer false hope, respects her too much for that. Not automatically, honesty like clean water. "But you can become stronger, not just physically, without becoming like them." The most important distinction. They reach her building, a modest apartment block, paint peeling from concrete walls, but clean, well-maintained, signs of pride amid poverty. She stops, turns to face him. "My father will want to thank you," her eyes on the ground again, "for helping me today." Bruce shakes his head. "No thanks necessary." Then reconsiders. "But I would like to meet him." Intuition guiding him, now pieces of a puzzle still forming. She leads him up 4 flights of stairs, the elevator perpetually broken, according to her brief explanation, her leg brace, making each step a small challenge overcome through practiced determination. The apartment small, but immaculate furnishings, modest, a shrine in one corner honoring ancestors, fresh flowers and incense, signs of devotion, of remembrance. Chin Weilin, Mingyu's father, a man with gentle eyes and calloused hands, a carpenter by trade, rises from his workbench. When they enter, recognition crosses his face, seeing Bruce. "Mr. Lee." Surprise and confusion. "What brings you to our home?" Mingyu explains the confrontation at school, Bruce's intervention, her voice matter of fact, downplaying the danger, to her violin, the cruelty of the taunts. Her father listens, face growing darker, hands clenching into fists, then deliberately relaxing, a man accustomed to controlling anger, to finding constructive outlets. "Thank you for protecting my daughter." Bowing deeply to Bruce. "Our home is honored by your presence." Bruce returns the bow, respect given and received. "Your daughter's talent honored me first." Gesturing to the violin, now resting in its special place on a shelf built by her father's hands specifically for this purpose. Willin nods, pride momentarily overcoming worry. She has her grandmother's gift. love, and loss mingled in his voice. Mingyu disappears into the kitchen preparing tea, the ritual of hospitality, leaving the men to talk. Has the school been informed? Waylin asks, voice low, of these incidents. Bruce measures his words. They are aware, not lying, not comforting, but not concerned. Waylin's face shows no surprise, only resignation. It has always been thus. The words of a man who has faced similar battles. Money speaks louder than justice. Bruce studies the man before him, the quiet dignity, the controlled strength, recognizing a kindred spirit despite different paths. You have trained in martial arts. An observation, not a question. Waylin nods, a small smile, touching his lips. Many years ago, his hand unconsciously touching his leg. Before the accident, Bruce's eyes follow the gesture, understanding dawning. Mingyu's condition is inherited from me, Waylin confirms, though less severe in her case. A father's guilt for passing on his struggles. The doctors call it muscular dystrophy, medical terms for personal battles. Your form? Bruce asks, professional curiosity and something more. Which style? Wing Chun, pride returning to Waylin's voice. Under Master Wong for 10 years, his eyes grow distant with memory, until the progression made it impossible. Mingyu returns carrying a tray with teapot and cups. Her movements, careful practice, the concentration of someone who has learned to compensate for physical limitations. They drink tea, talk of inconsequential things, the weather. Bruce's films the changing face of Hong Kong, but beneath the pleasant conversation, Bruce watches, observes the way Waylin looks at his daughter with pride and fear intermingled, the way Mingyu's eyes occasionally drift to a locked cabinet in the corner. Something significant, there's something hidden. When Bruce rises to leave, Waylin walks him to the door, voice lowered away from Mingyu's ears. She doesn't know how to defend herself. The admission painful. I cannot teach her what I once knew. The failure of a father to protect. Bruce places a hand on his shoulder. Perhaps I can help with that. Hope flares in Waylin's eyes, quickly tempered by reality. We cannot afford. Bruce interrupts gently. Not for money. The offer genuine, for balance. On the street below, night has fallen completely, the city transformed by neon and shadow. Bruce looks up at the apartment building, thinking of the family inside, their struggles, their strength. The janitor from the school appears suddenly beside him, no longer in uniform, but still recognizable. You saw? Not a question, a statement. Bruce nods. I saw. Will you do something? The man's voice rough with emotion. Or just watch like the others? Bruce studies him, this man who sweeps floors, yet sees everything. What's your name? Lau. Simply that, no family name offered. I've worked at that school for 20 years, his eyes on Bruce's, measuring, judging. You know something? Bruce states, certainty in his voice. About Mingyu's father. Lau nods once decisively. Meet me tomorrow. He slips a piece of paper into Bruce's hand. After school, then melts into the crowd, another shadow in a city of millions. Bruce unfolds the paper, an address, nothing more than next piece of the puzzle, waiting to be found. Rain begins to fall, gentle at first, then stronger, washing the streets, but not the memories, not the decisions to be made. Morning comes to Hong Kong, rain-washed and gleaming. Bruce moves through his forms in the pre-dawn stillness of his dojo, mind clear as mountain water, body flowing like wind through trees. Today's movements, different Wing Chun techniques, not his usual Jeet Kune Do, remembering old forms, adapting them, reimagining them for different bodies, different strengths. And knock at the door, unusual at this hour. He opens it to find Waylin standing there, uncomfortable, determined. I couldn't sleep. Simple explanation for a complex visit. After our conversation, Bruce welcomes him and offers tea, the ritual of hospitality mirroring yesterday's scene. Mingyu doesn't know I'm here, Waylin confesses, hands cupped around warm porcelain. She has enough burdens, a father's protection sometimes becoming its own weight. The school situation, Bruce prompts, gently giving space for words to form. Waylin nods. It's getting worse, his voice tight with worry. This boy, Victor, spitting the name like something bitter. His father recently joined the school board. The power dynamics shifting further against Mingyu's favor. Has she considered changing schools? The obvious question, though Bruce suspects the answer. Her music scholarship, Waylin sighs, and the orchestra program. His hands spread in helplessness. No other school offers the same opportunity. The cruel mathematics of limited options. Bruce nods, understanding the trap. Excellence demanding sacrifice. Talent creating its own chains. There's something else. Weilin hesitates, internal struggle visible on his face. Something I haven't told Mingyu. The burden of secrets between generations. About my past. Bruce waits, patient, the sun now rising. Outside, painting the room in gold and shadow. I was not just any Wing Chun student, pride creeping into Weilin's voice despite his humility. I was champion of Hong Kong. 20 years ago, a lifetime. Before Victor's father, Bruce's eyes sharpened, pieces clicking into place. Zhao Tao, the name. Coming to him now from old tournament records, from whispered stories, Weilin nods. We fought in the finals, his hands unconsciously forming fists, muscle memory, stronger than time. I won, no pride in the statement, just fact, he never forgot. And now his son torments your daughter. Bruce completes the circle, the symmetry of vengeance across generations. Zhao quit fighting after that loss. Weilin continues the story, needing to be told now that it's begun. Went into business, a bitter smile. Became rich while I became crippled, the diverging paths of fate. Now he funds the school where his son reigns, the perfect revenge served cold across decades. And you never told Mingyu, Bruce states, understanding the protection in silence. What good would it do? Weilin asks. To know her suffering comes from my victory. The burden of a father carrying guilt for ghosts of the past. Bruce considers this the tangled roots of present pain. Sometimes understanding the source, he offers carefully, helps us face it with clarity. Weilin looks down at his hands, once weapons, now tools. There's more. From inside his jacket, he withdraws a small object wrapped in red silk, places it on the table between them with reverence. With hesitation, Bruce waits, allowing the moment its weight. Weilin unwraps the silk, revealing a medallion, gold tarnished with age, inscribed with characters for honor, discipline, respect, the champion's token from another lifetime. I've kept this hidden. Weilin's voice thick with emotion. Even from Mingyu, his fingers tracing the worn metal. Zhao has sought it for years, the physical symbol of his greatest defeat. Why hide it from your daughter? Bruce asks, genuinely curious. I wanted her to find her own path. Weilin explains, not be burdened by mine. The wisdom and folly of parents trying to spare their children life's complexities. And yet Bruce observes gently, your paths have crossed again. Through no action of theirs, the cosmic joke of karma. Weilin rewraps the medallion, hands it to Bruce, and offering a request. I want you to have this. Before Bruce can protest, not to keep, a clarification. To use a mission. How? Bruce asks, though understanding begins to dawn. Mingyu must know the truth. Weilin decides, resolution in his voice. But not from me. His eyes meeting Bruce's, from someone she will believe, from someone stronger, from someone undefeated. Bruce accepts the medallion. Its weight surprising for something so small. And Zhao Weilin's face hardens. He must learn that some victories, voice firm with conviction, cannot be purchased, cannot be stolen, cannot be erased. They sit in silence as the sun climbs higher. Two warriors from different generations, different styles, united in recognition of battles that matter. Later that day, Bruce waits outside the school, the medallion in his pocket, a promise in his heart to address. From Lao leads to a small tea house in the older part of the city where tradition still holds against modernity, where stories live in wooden beams and incense-stained walls. Lao sits in the corner, already waiting, tea poured, patience evident in his posture. Bruce joins him, the ritual greeting, the initial silence respected. You were more than a janitor. Bruce begins, certainty in his voice. At the school, Lao nods, a slight smile touching weathered lips. I was the Wing Chun master, pride without arrogance, who taught Qin Weilin. The connection revealed another piece in place. And Zhao Tao, Bruce adds, knowing it must be true. Lao's face darkens. My greatest failure. The admission painful even after decades. One student who couldn't win. Eyes meeting Bruce's, one who couldn't lose. The twin tragedies of teaching, the tournament. Bruce prompts, though he's beginning to know the story, needs to hear it from this source. Weilin won fairly. Lao states, no room for doubt. Zhao couldn't accept defeat, the flaw that defined him, challenged Weilin after, voice dropping lower, away from witnesses, away from rules, away from honor. And Bruce leans forward, though suspecting the answer. Weilin refused. Simple words for a momentous choice, said the match was decided, honor above pride. Zhao attacked anyway, the desperation of the ego unable to face truth. Weilin defended himself. Lao continues, eyes distant with memory. But in the struggle, hands demonstrating positions. Old habits of teaching. They fell from the temple steps. Bruce waits the story unfolding like a scroll being opened. Wayland's leg was shattered, Lau's voice flat with old pain, the beginning of his condition, though doctors would say later that trauma merely accelerated what genetics had predetermined, and Zhao. Bruce asks, though knowing villains often emerge unscathed, walked away, bitterness now evident, used his family's influence, money speaking louder than truth, to bury the incident. The pattern established that would echo through years. Why do you still work there? Bruce asks the question that's been forming. Lau sips his tea, eyes meeting Bruce's over the rim. To watch, simple answer for a complex choice. To remember, when others would forget. To wait, for the moment when past meets present and balance can be restored. And now. Bruce places the medallion on the table, red silk, bright against dark wood. Lau's eyes widen, recognition immediate. He showed it to you, wonder. In his voice, after all these years, Bruce nods. He wants Mingyu to know. The decision made, the wheel turning. Lau touches the silk, not unwrapping it, not needing to the school exhibition. He says, suddenly looking up at Bruce, next week, eyes alight. With purpose, all students must display their talents, a plan forming between them, their achievements. Bruce understands immediately, the perfect stage, for truth to be revealed, for balance to be restored. Zhao will be there, Lau confirms too. Watch his son perform, the showcase of the privilege to donate another building perhaps, sarcasm unusual from him, but earned. And Mingyu? Bruce asks, the central figure in this generational drama, will play her grandmother's violin, Lau states. Certainty in his voice, as she was born to do. They finish their tea, plans laid not in words, but in understanding between warriors. The medallion returns to Bruce's pocket, its purpose now clear, its moment approaching, truth waiting to be uncovered. Justice delayed but not denied. The exhibition hall gleams under spotlights and expectation, parents in expensive clothes, teachers in nervous anticipation, students in various states of panic. The annual showcase, where futures begin or dreams shatter. Bruce stands at the back, observing the social dynamics, the clusters of wealth and influence, the islands of talent and ambition. Lau nearby in janitor's uniform, invisible to most essential to what will unfold. Mingyu waits backstage, violin case clutched. Tied, a ritual of security, her father beside her, both dressed in their finest, which means simplest clothes, clean and pressed dignity, their only luxury. Victor prowls like a peacock in tailored suit, hair perfectly styled, confidence radiating, or perhaps fear disguised. His father nearby, Zhao Tao, older and heavier than his tournament days, but power still evident in his stance, in the way others defer to him, money creating its own gravity. The principal makes announcements, voice overly cheerful, thanking sponsors, especially the Zhao family, for their generous contributions. The new athletics complex, the expanded swimming pool, the legacy of privilege cemented in concrete and glass. No mention of the music program, chronically underfunded, surviving on passion alone. The performances begin, dance routines, science demonstrations, athletic exhibitions, the parade of youthful accomplishment, some genuine, some purchased. Victor performs a martial arts demonstration, not Wing Chun, something flashier, more acrobatic, less disciplined forms, without foundation, movements without meaning. The audience applauds politely, his father beaming with manufactured pride. Bruce watches, eyes narrowed slightly, recognizing the hollow center of impressive movements. All surface, no depth. Mingyu waits for her turn, second to last, nearly forgotten, but for Mr. Chen's insistence that his star violinist must be featured prominently backstage. The disaster happens so quickly, yet in slow motion for those watching. Victor passing by, a deliberate bump, sorry. Cripple, false apology, real malice. Mingyu stumbles, the violin case slipping, falling, opening on impact, the precious instrument sliding across polished floor. The sound draws all eyes, the collective gasp, as Victor's foot comes down, not accidentally. With precise intention on the violin's neck, the crack audible like a gunshot in the quiet space. Oops, his voice carrying performance for his friends who laugh on cue. Mingyu, frozen horror etched on her face, years of identity shattered in an instant. Wayland moves forward, rage and heartbreak warring on his features, stopped only by Bruce's hand on his shoulder, a silent request for patience, for trust. Mr. Chen rushes over, face pale with shock. What have you done? No longer the enthusiastic conductor, but a priest witnessing sacrilege. Victor shrugs. Accidents happen. Looking to his father for the protection money always provided, Zhao Tao steps forward, wallet already emerging, will replace it. Of course, as if heritage can be purchased, as if memory has a price tag. Mingyu kneels beside the broken violin, tears falling silently, not touching the fragments, as if they might crumble further under her fingers. The principal arrives, assesses the situation, the power dynamics, the financial implications. These things happen, diplomatic to a fault. I'm sure the Zhao family will make it right. Right defined by checkbooks, not conscience. The audience watches the drama, more compelling than any planned performance, the human instinct for spectacle overriding compassion. Bruce moves then from shadow to light, each step deliberate, commanding attention without seeking it. Some things cannot be replaced. His voice carries without being raised, the skill of controlled projection. Some actions cannot be undone. All eyes turn to him, the famous Bruce Lee, unexpected center of attention. Even Zhao looks surprised, then wary, recognition dawning of potential complications. This is a school matter. The principal interjects, trying to regain control of a situation rapidly evolving beyond management. This is a matter of honor. Bruce corrects the word, hanging in the air like a challenge. He reaches into his pocket, withdraws the red silk package, the movement drawing all eyes, the color vibrant against the subdued backdrop of formal attire. 20 years ago, Bruce begins, voice pitched to carry throughout the hall. There was another competition. Eyes finding Zhao's, holding them, another test of skill and character. Zhao stiffens, recognition, immediate fear flashing across his features, quickly masked, a private matter. He interjects, warning in his tone, from another time, nothing is private. Bruce continues, unwrapping the silk, revealing the medallion, gold catching the light. When it echoes through generations, the audience murmurs, confusion and interest mingled, the human love of secrets revealed, of powerful men, discomfort. Chun Weilin. Bruce turns to Mingyu's father, standing straighter, now despite his cane, despite his disability, was the Wing Chun champion of Hong Kong. Gasps from those who recognize the name, from the older generation who remember tournaments before television and sponsorships when honor mattered more than money. He defeated Zhao Tao. Bruce continues, the medallion held high now for all to see, fairly and honorably. Zhao's face darkens with rage, with shame, with exposure. Ancient history he dismisses, though his voice lacks conviction. Is it? Bruce asks, turning to Victor, standing frozen beside the broken violin. Or does history repeat itself? Mingyu looks up, tear-streaked face registering shock, learning her father's past in this most public. Wei Weilin steps forward, stands beside Bruce, no longer hiding from his history, from his identity. I never told you, addressing his daughter directly, because I wanted you to find your own strength. Bruce places the medallion in Weilin's hand. Where it belongs, a symbol returned to its rightful owner. What my father fails to understand, Zhao's voice cuts through the moment, cold as steel, is that times change, a dismissive gesture at the medallion. Trophies gather dust at Weilin, champions become irrelevant, his hand on his son's shoulder. While we build the future, Victor smirks, confidence returning with his father's protection, the momentary shame buried beneath entitlement. The future, Bruce echoes, contemplative, built on what foundation? He turns to the audience, the parents, the teachers, the students, all witnesses now to more than they expected. What do we teach our children? The question hanging in the air, that money erases responsibility? Eyes finding the principal, who looks away, that talent matters less than privilege? Gesturing to the broken violin, that strength exists only to dominate. Looking at Victor, then beyond him, to the legacy of twisted values. Silence holds the room, the rare moment of collective reflection in a society racing always forward, never pausing to examine the path beneath its feet. Mingyu rises, stands beside her father's small hand, finding his larger one, forgiveness and understanding flowing between them. I would still like to perform. Her voice soft but clear, determination shining through tears. But how? Mr. Chun asks, gesturing to the broken violin, the centerpiece of her planned performance. I have another, Weilin says, voice thick with emotion. Her grandmother's first violin, smaller, simpler, but intact, in the car. Mr. Chin nods. I'll delay the final acts. Understanding the importance of this moment, of this stand, as Weilin leaves to retrieve the instrument, Bruce faces Zhao directly. Some competitions never end, voice low for his ears alone, but their nature changes from physical to spiritual. From technique to character, the true test remains. Zhao meets his gaze, something shifting behind his eyes, recognition, perhaps of battles lost long ago still fighting inside him. My son will succeed where I failed, confidence, or threat hard to. Distinguished Bruce smiles slightly. Success comes in many forms, wisdom offered without expectation of acceptance, not all visible on the surface. The stage is reset, the audience settles, anticipation building for something unplanned yet somehow. Inevitable. Mingyu takes her position center stage under single spotlight. The old violin her grandmother's first held with reverence, with love. She begins to play. The first notes rise hesitant as raindrops before a storm. Mingyu, finding her way on. The unfamiliar instrument smaller than her own, the strings tighter, the voice different. But then something happens, a transformation visible to anyone watching closely. Her shoulders straighten, her chin lifts, her eyes close, not in fear or shame, but in concentration, in communion with something beyond the moment, beyond the pain. The music changes, growing stronger, more confident, a traditional Chinese melody that speaks of resilience, of bamboo bending in wind, but never breaking. Bruce watches from the side of the stage, seeing not just the performance, but the performer, the strength emerging from supposed weakness, the power of vulnerability embraced rather than denied. Walin stands nearby, tears flowing freely, now pride, overwhelming sadness. As his daughter transcends the broken violin, the public humiliation, the years of torment, the audience falls silent, captivated by something they hadn't expected. Raw emotion, unfiltered by technique, though the technique itself is flawless. Even Victor stands motionless, something working behind his eyes, confusion, perhaps at witnessing strength so different from his own. Halfway through the piece, Mingyu opens her eyes, looks directly at Victor, then at Zhao. No anger in her gaze, no hatred, just clear-eyed truth, the most powerful confrontation without a word spoken. She continues playing the melody, shifting from sorrow to determination, from past to future, her body swaying slightly, the leg brace no longer hidden but incorporated into her movement. Part of her not separate from her art. Zhao watches, face unreadable, yet something shifting, their old memories, perhaps of another time when he too sought perfection before ambition corrupted purpose. Mr. Chun stands transfixed, conductor's hands still for once, allowing the music to flow without his direction, recognizing when to lead and when to witness. As the piece nears its end, a commotion erupts at the back of the hall, angry voices, a scuffle. Victor's friends, three of them drunk on privilege and actual alcohol smuggled into the event, begin heckling, making crude gestures, mimicking Mingyu's limp, laughing too loudly. The principal moves toward them too slowly, too uncertainly. Authority without conviction is merely suggestion. Bruce tenses, ready to intervene to protect Mingyu from this final humiliation, but before he can move, another figure acts, unexpected, decisive. Lao, the janitor, the forgotten master, steps from the shadows, moves with surprising speed for a man his age, not toward the disruptive boys, but toward the stage, toward Mingyu. He carries something wrapped in cloth similar to the medallion's covering, but larger, longer. Mingyu continues playing, either unaware of the disruption or choosing to rise above it, her music a shield against their cruelty. Lao reaches the stage, steps up beside her, unwraps the cloth, revealing a sword, not decorative, not ceremonial, a warrior's weapon, well used, well maintained. The audience gasps. The principal freezes, security nowhere to be seen when truly needed. Lao does not threaten, does not brandish the weapon, simply holds it vertical before him, point resting lightly on the stage, hands positioned in formal stance, the traditional guardians pose. The disruption falters, the boys suddenly uncertain, faced with something beyond their experience, beyond their comprehension. Mingyu's music continues, the sword catching light with each subtle movement of Lao's hands, creating visual harmony with the audio. Bruce recognizes the significance, the ancient partnership of music and martial arts, both expressions of the same discipline, different faces of single truth. The boys retreat, confusion replacing arrogance, instinct warning them of boundaries crossed, of forces awakened. Zhao watches, face paling, recognizing Lao after all these years, the teacher he dishonored, the master whose lessons he corrupted. Weilin steps forward, joins Lao on stage, standing on Mingyu's other side. 3 generations of tradition, of resistance, of honor. The music builds toward climax, Mingyu's bow moving faster, drawing sounds from the simple violin that shouldn't be possible, transcending the instrument's limitations as she transcends her own. Bruce moves then not to the stage, but directly to Zhao standing close, voice low for his ears alone. Your son can be more than your revenge. Offering wisdom without judgment, this cycle can end here. If Zhao chooses, if he finds the courage his younger self lacked. Zhao's face contorts internal struggle, visible the weight of decades of choices, made paths, taken wounds inflicted, and received on stage. Mingyu reaches the final passage, the most difficult technically, the most revealing emotionally, her face shining with effort, with triumph, with the joy of creation. Victor watches something changing in his expression, seeing her differently, perhaps for the first time seeing strength where he perceived only weakness, talent where he acknowledged only disability, a human where he had seen only a target. The final note hangs in the air, sustained beyond natural limits by skill, by will, by the collective held breath of the audience. Then silence, perfect, complete, the pause between heartbeats before the world restarts. Applause erupts, not polite, not obligatory, but genuine, thunderous, a recognition of something authentic in a world of pretense. Mingyu bows, slightly unsteady, emotionally drained, yet standing taller than she ever has. Weilin places his hand on her shoulder, pride radiating from him, the touch conveying what words cannot, that he sees her truly, sees her in all her complexity, all her beauty. Lao re-wraps the sword, steps back, returns to shadow, his role completed. For this moment, Bruce watches Zhao, the decision forming visible in his posture. In his eyes, the hardest battle is with oneself. Zhao steps forward, approaches the stage, the audience, quieting, sensing another act in this unscripted drama. He stops before Mingyu, before Weilin, 20 years of hatred, of resentment, of twisted ambition. Hanging between them, the better musician. He acknowledges, nodding to Mingyu, the better fighter. Looking at Weilin, the words costing him visibly, yet freeing him too. From his jacket, he removes a checkbook, the businessman's solution to all problems. But then a moment of hesitation, of reconsideration. The checkbook returns to his pocket instead. He bows formally, deeply, the student's gesture to the master, to masters of different arts. My son will replace the violin, not with money, with work, with consequence, with responsibility. If you will permit it. Victor stares at his father, shock evident, never having witnessed this side of him, this submission, this respect. Weilin studies Zhao, measuring sincerity, weighing 2 decades of pain against this moment of potential. We will discuss terms, not rejection, not acceptance, but opportunity. Mingyu steps forward, still holding the violin, her grandmother's first, now hers, by right of artistry, by right of courage. I would like to hear Victor apologize, her voice steady, no vindictiveness, simply justice. All eyes turn to Victor, the moment of truth. Character revealed, not in victory, but in defeat. He steps forward reluctantly at first, then with growing resolution, stands before Mingyu, taller, physically smaller, in every way that matters. I'm sorry, the words unfamiliar on his lips. For the violin, a pause, learning as he speaks, for everything. Bruce watches the wheel turning, balance restoring, not perfectly, not completely, but beginning. The principal approaches, eager to smooth over, to return to script, to comfortable routine. Well, this has been most unusual. Bruce interrupts quietly, but firmly. This has been most necessary. A lesson more valuable than any in the curriculum, for everyone. The audience begins to disperse, the exhibition officially over, but conversations buzzing with what they witnessed, not just music, not just drama, but transformation. Mingyu stands in a circle of light, her father on one side, her violin held close, no longer hiding her leg brace, no longer hunching her shoulders, the posture of someone who has found her center. Lao approaches Bruce, the sword now hidden, but its presence still felt. You did well. Simple praise from one master to another. Bruce shakes his head. I did little, gesturing to Mingyu. She did everything, by refusing to break, by playing through pain, by transforming suffering into beauty. The strongest trees, Lao offers, grow in the harshest winds. Ancient wisdom still relevant. Bruce nods, understanding the truth beyond the proverb. And the finest steel, he adds, is forged in the hottest fire. They watch as Mingyu, surrounded now by classmates, genuine appreciation, replacing mocking, the balance, shifting not from outside force, but from inner strength. Finally recognized 3 months later, autumn paints Hong Kong in golds and reds, the season of harvest, of reflection, of preparation for winter's test. Bruce enters the school, not as visitor now, but as invited teacher, once weekly lessons in a program of his own design, martial arts, as philosophy, as discipline. As path to self-knowledge, the hallways different somehow, energy shifted, not dramatically, real change rarely, is but noticeably to those who know what to look for. He passes the main lobby, where a new display case stands, glass and polished wood prominently positioned where all who enter must see inside. Two objects side by side, Ming Yu's broken violin, carefully reassembled, not playable, but whole in a different way, and beside it Wei Lin's championship medallion, both with small plaques explaining their significance. Their story. The principal had resisted at first, preferring to hide uncomfortable truths behind motivational posters and donor recognition, but the students had insisted, led by unexpected voices, including Victor's. A petition signed by nearly everyone, a lesson in accountability, in remembrance, in honoring difficult truths rather than convenient fictions. The music room hums with activity. Mr. Chen, more animated than ever since the program, received a substantial anonymous donation. New instruments, sheet music, recording equipment, resources long denied. Mingyu sits first chair, now her new violin, custom made in Italy, to match the dimensions of her grandmother's original, the tone purer, the response more sensitive to her particular touch. She practices daily with a dedication deepened by temporary loss, by public struggle, by private victory. In the gymnasium, Bruce observes his students, 20 in total, from various grades, various backgrounds, some athletic, some awkward, all seeking something beyond physical technique. Mingyu among them, her leg brace modified by an orthopedic specialist, another anonymous gift allowing greater mobility without sacrificing support. She moves through basic forms adapted to her abilities, not focusing on limitations, but on possibilities. The essence of Jeet Kune Do, using what works, discarding what doesn't. Personal expression through disciplined practice. Victor trains two, separated from Mingyu at first by Bruce's design, until trust could be established, until change could be verified as natural athleticism, now channeled differently, less showy, more substantive. Learning humility through sweat, through failure, through persistence. The two now practice together, not friends, exactly that. Wound too deep for quick healing, but respectful partners, each recognizing in the other something worthy of acknowledgement. Bruce moves among his students, correcting a stance here, adjusting an angle. They're teaching more by question than by instruction. Why this movement? What purpose does this serve? How does this apply beyond practice? Lao observes from the doorway, no longer in janitor's uniform, though he keeps the position by choice rather than necessity, his identity, now known, his wisdom acknowledged by those who previously saw only his function. Wei Lin visits occasionally to watch his daughter, to speak with Bruce, two men connected by circumstance, by philosophy, by respect for each path, however different. After class, Bruce walks the school grounds, noting changes, small but significant. Ramps where there were only stairs, assistance programs mentioned openly rather than hidden in administrative files, a culture shifting slowly as cultures do when examined honestly. The janitor's closet, Lao's domain, now serves dual purpose, cleaning supplies still present, but sharing space with training equipment, books on philosophy, a small shrine to masters long gone, their wisdom preserved through practice. Lao brews tea there in afternoons for any student seeking guidance beyond academic subjects, beyond athletic achievement, the kind of guidance systems rarely provide, but humans always need. In the principal's office, a different conversation unfolds. Zhao Tao and Wei Lin sitting across from each other, not as enemies, now not quite as friends, but as men who recognize in each other the cost of choices, made the possibility of different choices moving forward. The scholarship fund, Zhao speaking businesslike, yet different, less arrogant, more purposeful, will be established next month for students with physical challenges, with musical talent, with determination greater than resources. Wei Lin nods. Mingyu has agreed to serve on the selection committee, her experience informing criteria, her journey inspiring others. The principal watches, somewhat bewildered still by this alliance between former enemies, by the changes it has catalyzed throughout his school, throughout his career, throughout his understanding of what education means in the martial arts program. He asks, still uncomfortable with Bruce's presence, with what it represents. Challenged to convenient hierarchies, to unexamined traditions, will continue. Zhao states firmly, no room for negotiation with expanded funding. His checkbook now serving different priorities, his influence redirected toward balanced opportunity rather than preferential treatment outside the administration. Building Victor waits, changed, yet still evolving. The journey of months not yet complete may never be. He watches Mingyu crossing the courtyard, her gait still uneven, but her posture confident, no longer hiding, no longer ashamed. He approaches awkwardly, the history between them a weight not easily set down, my father told me. About the scholarship, about the new music wing, about the past that shaped their present. Mingyu nods, neither welcoming nor rejecting the conversation, the connection however tenuous. I've been thinking. Victor continues, words coming with difficulty, vulnerability, still unfamiliar territory. About organizing a concert, student performers, school orchestra, proceeds benefiting the new scholarship, fund his way of making amends. Beyond words, through actions, interest flickers in Mingyu's eyes, professional consideration overriding personal history, the acoustics in the auditorium, technical assessment, not emotional response, would need adjustment. They walk together discussing possibilities, logistics, not friends, not enemies, something more complex, more realistic, more human. Bruce observes from distance, not interfering, understanding that some healing must happen without guidance, some bridges must be built by those who created the divide. Lao joins him, the two masters watching the younger generation finding their way. Is balance restored? Lao asks philosophical question, not expecting simple answer. Bruce considers, balance is never static. Wisdom learned through combat, through teaching, through living, only recognized in movement, in adaptation, in constant adjustment. Lao nods, satisfaction in his eyes. You have taught them well. Bruce shakes his head, humility, genuine, not performed. They have taught themselves. His role merely catalyst for changes already possible within each student. They watch as Mingyu and Victor part ways, not with hostility, not with forced friendship, but with something like mutual recognition of separate paths that sometimes intersect in the display case. The broken violin catches afternoon light, its fractured surface transformed from symbol of destruction to reminder of resilience. A group of younger students stops to read the plaque, to ask questions, to learn the story that has already become school legend, will eventually become personal inspiration. One girl, perhaps 10, with arm in cast from playground accident, stares longest at the violin, at the medallion, her expression thoughtful beyond her years. Bruce watches her, wondering what seeds are planting, what future might grow from this moment of recognition that broken things have their own beauty, their own purpose, their own strength. The school day, in students stream toward exits, carrying books, carrying instruments, carrying athletic gear, carrying less visible burdens and gifts. Mingyu heads toward the music room, extra practice, before heading home, the discipline of excellence, now chosen freely, not imposed by expectation. Victor toward the gymnasium, his own path of redemption. Through sweat, through effort, through gradual change. The principal in his office, reviewing budget proposals for programs previously ignored, learning slowly that true education extends beyond test scores, beyond trophies, beyond donor recognition. And Bruce preparing for his own journey home, to the dojo, to his students there, to the continuous process of learning, by teaching, of leading, by following, of strength found in flexibility. He pauses at the school gate, looking back at the building changed and changing as all things must, when truth is faced, when balance is sought, when courage is honored. Lao stands at the entrance, guardian, still though role transformed, raises hand in farewell, in acknowledgement, in continuation. Bruce returns the gesture. Two warriors from different traditions, united in purpose, if not in method. The broken violin, the champion's medallion, the sword hidden, but present, the music still playing, the legacy continuing in ways neither man could predict, but both helped shape a lesson not in syllabus, a teaching beyond technique, a truth beyond words. The wheel turning as it always has, as it always will. The wheel turns as it always has, as it always will, not in perfect circles, but in spiral growth. Each returns slightly higher, each beginning containing the wisdom of what came before. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe.